In the past 4 years of my life, I've gone from somebody who was just a little bit interested in programming to somebody who really likes programming, and somebody who's actually earned a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I find it awesome anyway. I mean, programming is something that involves critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity, and I really like applying those things to what I do. That in programming has taught me a lot, not just about the technological side of things, but also some things that I've actually tried to apply to my everyday life. And that's mainly what I want to talk to you guys about today. Here are 5 things that I've learned from programming that can be applied to your everyday life. Number 1. In your everyday life, you always want to try and learn new things and apply critical thought. You have no idea how many times I've heard the following phrase, and honestly, it kind of ticks me off. When you see somebody who's about to do something stupid and you say they should really think about what they're doing, oftentimes they will respond with the following: "They don't pay me to think." Well, they probably don't make that face, but they might as well be, because critical thinking is something that you should apply to your everyday life. Critical thinking can help you get through a lot of hardships that you'll face in your life, and actually help you avoid some of the hardships that you're going to face in your life. That, and you should always take the time to learn new things, because how else are you going to expand your mind? You should always try to expand your mind. Open yourself up to new things. Your life will be a lot richer. People who just coast through life on autopilot and don't try to think critically or learn new things usually tend to not come up with any innovative ideas, and usually tend to not be very interesting people. Hence, they usually end up leading kind of dull lives, and you really don't want to do that. This leads me to number 2, which is you really should not try to do things too quickly, and you really should try to do things in a step-by-step process. When you're a programmer, if you end up working on a large application, you don't want to try and tackle every single portion of it at once. If you do that, your results are going to be headache-inducing, and it's going to make it a lot harder on you. What you should do if you're programming a large application is try to break each segment of that application into smaller pieces. And when you get those pieces, you should identify one you should work on first, and then once you're done working on that and have tested it to make sure that it actually works, you should then work on other pieces and then try to apply them to that first piece. And honestly, you should do that with a lot of the big decisions you're going to make in your life. We all know people who have done things too fast without really giving it a huge amount of thought. For instance, there are people out there who move out of their parents' houses just because they want to and want to be independent, but they don't take into account that it's going to be extremely expensive for them to live outside of their parents' home and on their own, and they might not be able to financially support themselves. And also, there are a lot of people who really want to have children and decide to have children before making sure that they're actually able to take care of themselves. There are a lot of scenarios where you really have to sit down and think about what you want to do, and then before you actually do what you want to do, you have to make a plan as to how you're going to do it and actually enact it step by step. Number 3, communication is extremely important. For some reason, it's a really huge stereotype that programmers are basement loners who just sit in their basements and code every day in darkness, and then when somebody opens the basement door, sunlight gets in, and then they yell at them because the sunlight's getting in. Basically, long story short, there's a stereotype that they're closed off from anybody. And anybody who's actually worked in a corporation environment as a programmer can tell you that's usually not the case at all. Most of the time, if you're working on a huge project, you're going to be working with other people. And if you're working with other people on something that involves coding, you are going to need to communicate your ideas well, because you need to help people understand what you're doing. And communication applies to pretty much every aspect of your life. Do you have any idea how many situations have arisen because of bad communication? For example, think of the last time you said something and then somebody took it completely the wrong way. That's an example of failed communication. Life is a lot easier when you're actually able to communicate your ideas better, and when people are actually able to understand them because you communicated them in such a good way. And number 4, this one might sound a little silly at first, but it really is true. Diet and exercise are actually really important, and you should try to do them in your life. Even if you're one of those people who can eat whatever you want, not exercise, and not gain any weight whatsoever, that is eventually going to catch up with you. I learned this the hard way when I started programming at a corporation and then didn't really do anything and ate a bunch of junk food and then kind of ballooned 15 more pounds in a matter of a couple of months. So I started exercising a little more and eating differently, and I ended up getting pretty good results.
Hey Steve, which way to the weight room?
I don't really know. I think it's that way. And this brings me to the final thing, number 5. Being a creator is better than just being a consumer. Sure, we're all consumers. We have to consume things in order to live. But a lot of people consume things and don't actually create things. Sure, you can be a consumer, but you should also try to create things too. One of the ways that I try to create things is to write code that is used in applications that employees at the place that I work at use. I see that as something that benefits other people, and when you create something, you should see it as something that you are making that people either need or want. Basically, I'm not saying that you should always try to please people. You shouldn't really live to please people, but you should at least try to do things or create things that people enjoy or people need. Let's put it this way. Anybody can be a critic. You can always slam something that was created. You can always slam somebody for something that they created. You can always say that they did a bad job. The real question is, can you top it? It actually feels a lot better when you actually are a creator than when you are only a consumer. Well guys, there you go. There are 5 things that I've actually learned from programming that I've actually used in my daily life, or at least try to apply to my daily life. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that's all for today. Steve, out.